Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Litter Media Live. I'm your host, Mike Smith, along with an old radio buddy.
Old radio. That's truer words were never spoken, yes.
The real Bob Neal.
Thank you, Mike.
Who's also with the Ross Soil and Water Conservation District. We're going to be talking about some of the things they're up to, including their upcoming September 7th annual banquet and meeting. All of that's coming up in just a moment. Our program today brought to you by Kingston National Bank. Back with Bob Neal right after this. Back with Bob Neal of the Ross County Soil and Water Conservation District. Bob, good to have you with us.
Mike, thank you for having me. Before you get started with your questions, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Actually, it's a Jeopardy question.
Okay.
So the answer is, it's where Dan Ramey went to high school and the source of our drinking water.
The Taze River. Well, Taze Valley, but Taze River.
Taze River, very good. Thank you very much. We'll give it to you, even though it wasn't formed in the form of a question. It wasn't phrased in the form of a question.
That is correct.
Yeah, we're going to have the topic for our annual banquet is water. And we get our drinking water, as you know, from the Taze River Valley.
Yeah. Now, I know a lot of us have heard of that, but that is obviously an underground aquifer that is ancient.
It is, and I always heard it called an underground river, which puts me in the mind of, those old Journey to the Center of the Earth movies where there's a big cave and a river running through it. But no, it's actually, from what I understand, porous rock and other sediment that retains water, and you can drill into it, kind of the way a sponge holds water. Rocks underneath the earth hold water, and that's what is the aquifer, and that's the source of the drinking water for this area.
I know going back, 40 years that I've been broadcasting in this area, we've heard all kind of estimates on how much water, how long could it last. Now that we're 40 years on the other side, do we have any better idea of that?
Well, water's been in the news a lot lately, really all year, and that's what was the impetus for the board wanting to have this water panel. It's been in the news. Just a few days ago, I heard that the Panama Canal is in trouble because the lakes in Panama, I guess it uses freshwater lakes to fill the locks, and then that just washes into the ocean. So they're worried about that long term. I certainly don't have an answer for how long water is going to last, but it is a concern, and that's why we wanted to bring some experts to talk about water.
Now, as we said, the dinner and the annual meeting will be September 7th. You're out at the Ross County Fairgrounds this year.
We'll be in the multipurpose building, and doors open at 6, dinner at 6:30.
And then the panel will be before the annual meeting?
Well, we'll start dinner about 6:30. We'll let people get mostly full, and then we'll probably start the panel itself about 6:50. But you're getting into some fine minor details there as we write the agenda. But we've assembled a panel. Brad Long with the Chillicothe Utilities Department will attend the meeting, of course representing the Chillicothe water system. But we also have others. Kelly Spindler is the Environmental Health Director at the Ross County Health District, and they have programs for those of us that have private water systems, well water, and she'll be talking about that. And then we have someone from Ohio EPA who talks about protecting Ohio's waterways, streams, and whatnot. Rachel Talby is her name. She made a nice presentation earlier this year in Pike, Scioto, and Ross County for what you can and can't do with waterways on your property. And then most interesting, I think, is we have the director of the National Center for Water Quality Research. That's based out of Heidelberg University. And we've been in a partnership. The Ross Soil and Water District has been in a partnership with Heidelberg for over 30 years. Wow. There's water samples taken from the Scioto River 3 times a day, every day of the year, and we ship those up every week, and they analyze them as part of their larger database. So I'll be curious to hear what she has to say.
I didn't know that it was being sampled by them.
Yeah, 3 times a day. Every day we. The UPS brings a cooler by, so I always tell people, that's our fishing tackle. But no, those are water sample bottles that we ship up to Heidelberg, and they include that again as part of their larger database for their water sampling and testing throughout the state.
Along with protecting our water through conservation, pollution is another thing. I know as far as agriculture is concerned, it's been in the news for a number of years about fertilizer runoff, the algae blooms in Lake Erie and things like that.
Yeah, the western Lake Erie Basin has been getting a lot of attention. I remember when those blooms started hitting the news 10 years ago or so. But what we do at the Ross Soil and Water Conservation District is we promote practices that really prevent runoff. You can go to our website right now, and the ODA has a predictor, takes a look at the weather and sees what the chances are. If you're going to put fertilizer down, is it going to rain and run off into the water? But practices like no-till farming actually minimize that kind of runoff, and nutrient management plans. A lot of farmers use those. In fact, our Cooperator of the Year awardee, Zach Zermely, he follows a nutrient management plan for his farm. We encourage all producers to do that. And that's going to become more important as you might have heard about H2 Ohio. Again, most of the money from that state program is going to Lake Erie and the western Lake Erie Basin, but we're starting to see some of that money funnel into this area. And a critical part of that is getting a certified nutrient management plan. And most people get that through their fertilizer vendors.
Obviously, members, but who all can attend the annual meeting?
Everyone is invited. It's open to the public. It is $15 for the banquet. And if you could make an RSVP, that's due by August 28th. But we'd love to have you at the banquet. We invite our producers. We send it out in our newsletter, which is basically people that we have contact with over the years. And if you bought trees or fish, you're probably on that mailing list as well. But it'll be a nice night. It is our annual banquet where we present our annual report to the public. The district receives most of our funding from the Ross County Commissioners. There's also funding from the state of Ohio. And so as a public entity, we want to report to the public and share with everybody what we've been doing the last year.
Certainly, as Bob said, anyone can attend, but especially we'd love to have people in the agricultural community so they know what's going on.
Certainly. Producers, we mainly work with farmers. We do a lot of work designing waterways and underground tile systems. Waterways are, it's a practice where it prevents gullies, prevents erosion. So, I know just by driving by, you can see, a nasty gully, and you can see what that's doing to the farmland there. Well, if you put in a waterway, it kind of controls the flow of water, maintains more acres for production, which, of course, will increase your yield. So it's a little bit, actually, the federal government will pay for most of a waterway. And it's a little bit of an investment to use a little bit of farmland to protect the rest of the field.
Well, of course, as we speak live here, the Ross County Fair is coming up next week. Will you folks be out there?
We'll be at the fair. We share space. We're happy to be in the Ross County Engineers Tent. Thank you to Charlie Ortman for hosting us again. And we'll have some posters and displays about what we've been doing. We were just looking at a poster this morning about different conservation practices that can help with the things you've been talking about, but also highlighting some of our education activities over the years and things like that.
I know with any group like Soil Water Conservation District, effectiveness can be even greater if more people participate. Is there ever an effort to reach out into other parts of the county to try to see, hey, if you've never attended this, if you maybe your dad or your grandfather was a member or a part of this, but maybe you haven't, to get more of them involved?
We encourage that. In fact, I think our award winner, Zach Zermely, embodies that. His late father, Zach, started farming with his father and then took on his own land. And he impresses me as a modern farmer because, the conservation practices that he implements, it's a very long and impressive list. Some of it is subsidized by the government funds, but a lot of it is not. It's just what he thinks is best for his farm and the best way to conserve his land. But he really embodies, I think, he's a fourth-generation farmer, embodies a young farmer, a modern farmer, but classic values.
I know you and I have had this discussion before where technology has really come along to help in a lot of these efforts, like GPS, for example.
In fact, the Ross Soil and Water Conservation District houses the county GIS department. Greg Rouse is the GIS coordinator. And he's been working over the last several years, and technology has even come along since he's been starting this. But what he can do is, let's say you install tile in your field. He can actually go out and map, photograph, essentially, image where the tile is, and then matches that to a GPS map so you can know exactly where your tile is. And even if it's old underground tile, we've been experimenting with different ways to locate existing old clay tile. And again, overlay it with a GPS map so you know exactly where that is. And in the future, if there's a blowout or some kind of problem, it'll eliminate unnecessary digging. You can pinpoint exactly where the tile is, find out where the problem is. And you mentioned how technology has come along. That can help with actual ground surveying, like when you survey land for a waterway to determine, the best place for it, what the slope is, and things like that. Well, using drone technology, there are drones now. It's called RTK, real-time kinematics. Oh, wow. I think I've got the terms right. But basically, the drone knows where it is in 3 dimensions. It knows its latitude, longitude, and altitude. So that kind of drone can help with surveying, speed the process up. You don't need. You remember how George Washington would, look through the glass, and somebody with a flag would be down the pike. But new technology is making all that a little bit simpler and more quicker. Yeah, saves time.
I know when Dan and I have gone up to the Adena Mansion, and of course Thomas Worthington was a surveyor, and when I think about how he surveyed and laid out the map of Ohio, I'm thinking, how long did this take?
It is amazing. Well, I'm amazed. Any old building is still standing. We both love history, and it's fascinating to look back. But we keep pretty busy with the here and now, too.
Yeah. If somebody wants to attend the September 7th event, how do they get in?
Just contact the district. You can look at our website, Ross County Soil. It's rosscountyswcd.org. The Soil Water Conservation District is the last part of that. Or you can call the district, 740-772-1711. Just press 3 when the system answers, and we'll take a reservation. We're asking people to pay at the door. It's only $15 for a nice Italian dinner catered by BFI Catering. You know what the BFI stands for? Big Fat Italian.
I can see where that would fit in there. Yeah.
So we're looking for that. But yeah, the annual banquet is September 7th, and the RSVP date is August 28th. We'd love to have as many people as we can at the multipurpose building at the fairgrounds.
And if you'd like to get more information about what's coming up at the event, you can go to the littermedia.com story that we put on earlier this week. In fact, if you're just catching the tail end of this interview live, you can go back and not only see it on our Facebook page, but we'll also embed it inside that littermedia.com website story from earlier this week. So multiple ways that you can find it, as well as later today on YouTube.
And if I may, the story also includes, I mentioned Zach, our cooperator of the year, producer of the year, but for the first time we're recognizing an educator of the year, and it's Amy Fitton, who, if you've ever been to Tar Hollow or Great Seal or Sayuta Trail, any of the programs at those parks, she's the event coordinator and naturalist. I spoke with her on the phone yesterday, just getting some biographical information for the introduction, and she is quite a remarkable woman. She's been doing this for 25 years. Thousands of people have enjoyed her programs, and she really cares about youth, advocates for, works for a group that advocates for at-risk teenagers and young adults, volunteers with Walnut Street United Methodist to help the homeless, and she's really dedicated to teaching people about the outdoors. So we'll be recognizing Amy Fitton as one of our awardees as well. So if you'd like to come out and support her, we'd love to see you on September 7th.
Bob, we appreciate your coming in, and hopefully you have a good turnout.
Well, thank you very much. We're quite busy at the district. There's a lot of things going on education-wise that I might be sending more notices about. So it's a busy time of the year, and like you mentioned, we'll be at the Ross County Fair. You can ask more about anything we're up to at the fairgrounds. We'll be in the engineer's tent, and I could talk all day.
That's why we were in radio.
It's an occupational hazard, but a good one.
Go out and see Bob and the gang out at the Ross County Fair. Again, that's coming, of course, next week out at the fairgrounds, which is also the home of the September 7th annual meeting and banquet. Bob Neal of the Ross County Soil and Water Conservation District has been our guest on Litter Media Live Special Edition, brought to you by Kingston National Bank. Don't forget to join me for our daily program at 11 o'clock this morning. That's coming up in just a little bit on Litter Media Live.